Let me start recording and then we are good to go.
We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the meeting to order. The meeting of the Technology Advisory Group has been called to order. Craig, will you take a roll call, please?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Andy Sandoval. Brad Hardig. Brian Poore. Ed Winfield. Greg Patax. Jeff Sheets.
Here.
Jim Keane. Joseph Curtis. Kim Clark. Chris Dalmelin. Mark Wittenberg.
Here.
Matthew Arve. Mike Chickaroon.
Present.
Phil Oslin. Sazim Paridazadi.
Here.
Steve Holiday.
Here.
Tom Bacon.
Present.
Tracy Mills.
Here.
And Travis Cartwright.
Here.
And we do have a quorum.
Are there any other members participating who have not been called? I would like to welcome the newest member of our group, Andy Sandoval from Chandler. Thank you for joining us, Andy. Please remember to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting on the MAG website within 1 hour of the posted start time for the meeting. They will also be able to send comments during the meeting using the chat function. Craig, do we have any comments?
No, we do not.
On to the minutes. Could I have a motion to recommend the approval of the September 17th, 2020 meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Seconded by Mark.
Okay, so we have a motion by Tracy and a second by Mark. And I will call for a vote. Craig, can you take a roll call, please?
Okay. Andy Sandoval.
Aye.
Brad Hardig. Brian Poore. Ed Winfield. Greg Patax. Jeff Sheets.
Aye.
Jim Keane. Jim. All right, we'll come back to Jim. Joseph Curtis. Kim Clark. Chris Dalmelin. Mark Wittenberg.
Aye.
Matthew Arve. Mike Chickaroon.
Aye.
Phil Oslin. Sazim Paridazadi.
Aye.
Steve Holiday.
Aye.
Tom Bacon.
Aye.
Tracy Mills.
Aye.
Travis Cartwright.
Aye.
And Jim, are you with us? Okay. All right, that is the roll call.
Thank you. On to item number 4. Anabarov Bagley from the Maricopa Association of Governments will provide an update on the Sun Cloud project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the MAGTAG committee, I'll just share my screen to start discussing this project. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Sun Cloud project that MAG is embarking on at this time. So last year, MAG, a couple of years ago, MAG had applied for an FHWA grant to the Center for Accelerating Innovation teams for developing a joint data portal for 5 counties. Kind of the idea was at that time to do an extension. So some of you would be familiar with the online interactive mapping portals, etc., that MAG has built. Those are available at maps.azmag.gov. So the idea was to extend those to the Sun Corridor region, so the 5 counties in southern Arizona at that time. Since the time we had submitted for the grant, MAG staff already had started working with the COGS and MPOs in the southern Arizona region to start developing a number of data sets jointly, like the employment data set across the region, doing a interactive viewer for the demographic side of stuff, etc. Well, so the surprise was when the grant came through, a lot of the work that had been started was already had been proposed as part of the grant, but it was good to have built those relationships and started working on that grant itself. So this time we received the grant. It's a $1 million grant over a 2-year period. And the whole idea behind this is development of joint data sets, data portals, etc., that support transportation planning needs across the Sun Corridor region. And that's the 5 counties. So Santa Cruz, Cochise, Pinal, Pima, and Maricopa counties. Generally, to start with, the idea on this obviously was to build the data portal for transportation, socioeconomic, land use data. But as part of the project last year, Tim Stroh, our transportation planning director, and I ended up meeting, and we set up meetings with all the stakeholders and partners. And we got the guidance from all of them that there was a lot of interest across the region, but there was also a lot of interest in understanding joint transportation, not just the transportation and the socioeconomic and land use data, but also start looking at the IT infrastructure side of stuff. And this was before this current pandemic and all of the stuff that we're going through. And so that was a good discussion at the time, where there was interest in understanding access to public Wi-Fi, access to infrastructure, and what was the status on any of those. So that led us to adding the IT infrastructure also as part of this grant, as the work plan for this. At this time, obviously the grantees was Arizona State Department of Transportation, along with the 3 MPOs, the 4 MPOs in the region. So that would be Sierra Vista MPO, which is for Cochise County, Sierra Vista, City of Sierra Vista planning area, Pima Association of Governments for Pima County, a Sun Corridor MPO, which is primarily for Casa Grande area, Casa Grande metropolitan area, and then MAG, which is primarily Maricopa and Pinal counties. Obviously, since we're doing this work for that southern region, we've got to have full Cochise County and Santa Cruz County, and also parts of Pinal County that are not part of MAG or SCMPO. So we've reached out to councils of governments, the SEGO, that's the Southeastern Arizona Association of Governments, and Central Arizona Association of Governments for those pieces. Currently, we have obviously the partners. The biggest partners for us is all the member agencies, and our member agencies, all the member agencies for these regional organizations. But also, we've been working closely and started having meetings with the Arizona Commerce Authority, our State Cartographer's Office, and the Arizona State Land Department. So one of my purposes right now today is, as we discuss this, is get input on additional partners, additional projects that are happening, and kind of taking this forward on where we can go with this. This is a tremendous opportunity given everything else that's going on. So it was interesting starting to bring this stuff and brushing up as to what we had proposed as part of the grant and what we would be planning to do and how many of these were already done. So our idea was year 1, and as you can see, I'm not committing to a deadline or a timeline on what year 1 means, because we took our time starting the project itself, but just to get our staffing and everything else started to get up. And then the pandemic and all the changes hit us. So I think this project is going to traditionally last more than 2 years itself. But year 1, our idea is, that we start looking at the socioeconomic, land use, demographic side of stuff, business, real estate, and also start building on the communication, IT infrastructure type stuff at this start. So start working on those, and then move on to the transportation side of stuff for year 2. So the idea here really was like the demographic viewer has already been done statewide. It's already available. That is the census data that is currently available at maps.azmag.gov. Similarly, the employment viewer, which maps all the businesses which are 5 or more employees at any location, is also available in our GIS server mapping application that is statewide at that location. Now there's a bunch of them, like the community profiles, employment profiles, land use, etc., real estate tool that are already built for the MAG region. And it is not really a very heavy lift once the data is available to kind of customize those and make them available for the Sun cloud region, so the 5 counties. That's not a big one. The big piece really is building that partnership, building that trust across all these regions, and then taking that forward and building the mechanism to bring the data together, but not only keep the data up, build the data for one time, but mechanisms to update that data on an ongoing basis. That's the biggest challenge in doing all of this, is to continuously keep this updated. The final one really is the one that came out was there was a lot of interest on IT infrastructure, communications infrastructure, talking about things, projects and what are going on and understanding those and seeing if there is some way to bring those together in terms of at least mapping them, putting them together and understanding what are the efforts going on. This is kind of thought of along with the transportation, the ITS side of stuff. And I see that kind of continuing on in year 2. So plan 1, the work plan for year 1 was really starting to hold meetings with stakeholders and project partners. And at this time, we've already started doing that. So the first phase was starting to meet with all the project partners one-on-one and their stakeholders. So Tim Stroh and I presented and talked to a lot of these agencies. The next step really where we're embarking on is start getting into the data inventory, data collection, and then understanding really what is the data gap. That's, where are we with what data is available, who has what data currently ready to go, etc. The big piece in this will be starting to get to a data standardization piece and then starting to develop the data gaps. There may be certain areas that may not have a lot of the data available. Luckily for us, in our opinion, what we are seeing is the biggest feedback we received from all the stakeholders and partners was they would like to see the MAG interactive tools and dashboards, et cetera, that are already currently available to be extended across that region. The good part for us is Maricopa Association governments and FEMA Association governments, being the big players in this project, already have a lot of this data ready to go and start to take that together. The big piece will be working with our Southern Arizona counties, Cochise County, Santa Cruz County, start documenting and understanding and then building that. The final piece of the thing is to where do we place all of this? Where do we take all of this and park all that data, and what infrastructure do we use for that? So ADOT suggested, and then we already had connections at AZGeo. So we're working with the state cartographer's office. And the idea is to host all of this data off of that AZGeo portal that is going on. And that seems like a great fit for that project and what infrastructure is already done. So at this stage, what is the status? We've kind of starting at, we've already built a lot of the tools, but the idea being at this time, we've hired a consultant. It's Terra Systems Southwest. They're located in Tucson. They have a lot of experience working with combination GIS data across the state. They're connected very closely. Howard Ward is very well known across the state. So we've got Howard and his team on board. We've started having meetings with partners. We've already had, Howard has had meetings directly with member agencies in Southern Arizona. SEGO, that is the Southeastern Arizona Association of Governments, is having meetings and hosting meetings. And the idea being, we want to make sure that our partners in Southern Arizona, and actually all the MPOs and COGs, are the leads on this rather than this coming as a MAG project. This is a joint project within all of us. So the meetings with stakeholders are currently in progress. And that's one of the pieces that I want to bring up here is we will be hoping to have meetings with you and your teams through MAGTAG and through the MAG Population Technical Advisory Committee going forward to start understanding where should we all going with this, how do we leverage this project going forward and take this to other places that we can. And then we're currently obviously evaluating open data portals. That's the big one, and I'll kind of approach that in a bit. The other piece is this whole idea of we already have a lot of our member agencies, and not just ours, across the state, a number of agencies that have built open geodata portals, open data portals. How do we understand what's out there, but also what is missing? Are there some smaller agencies or medium-sized agencies that possibly need help, or on the data side or on the development or hosting of a portal to take that forward? And that could become one of those pieces. And so we're evaluating that. Obviously, there's the standard stuff about the data inventory, collection, gap, standardization, and all of that stuff. And then we're working with AZGeo on integrating and building this on a platform on AZGeo. So the idea being that AZGeo would possibly have, there's the public side where all the data, once it's ready to be hosted and is available there, the online mapping sites, the interactive sites, etc., and the dashboards would be coming off of the MAG website or the MAG servers. But also there would be on AZGeo that's behind the scenes, login based behind a firewall data sets for member agencies and all the partners so that they could have access to some tools that would help them understand things and move this thing forward. I mentioned the open geodata portals, and this is kind of work in progress that where MAG staff currently is looking at which of the cities and towns in our region and across the state have open geodata portals. Apparently this data is coming from AZGeo, from Jenna at the state cartographer's office. Which of the counties have it, which of the other agencies have it. But the other side really is which of the agencies don't have something like that? And is that because there is no desire, no need, or is there's a lack of bandwidth? And could one possibly use this project to take that forward? Is a big question that I'd love to get all of your input on. That ends my presentation, Mr. Chair and members. They're happy to take any questions, but at this time, our plan is to start working with our MAG IT team, Craig and Ryan Gish, and Scott Wilkin and the regional analytics team, and Jason Howard, our GIS manager, kind of working with all of them and working with PopTag and MagTag to start hosting meetings and understanding what are the needs. Are there any projects that we should be aware of so that we are not reinventing any wheels? And then are there other possibilities that we could leverage this grant taking this forward? Mr. Chair, members, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from membership?
I do. So when you're talking about IT infrastructure, are you talking about what in particular? Dark fiber? Are you talking carrier throughout cities? What is it that you're the intent, or what are you looking for IT infrastructure documentation?
Great question, Tracy. I don't know the right answer to that. I'm basically fishing for that to understand what is it that, one, what is available, and two, what would be the ideal need for everybody to kind of build this thing. That's why Ryan Gish and Craig and everybody and all of you would help us. So when I met with the economic development teams or the planning teams and all the agencies, particularly in Southern Arizona, they were like, we need to know the IT infrastructure. For any economic development, one wants to know where's the fiber, and whether on the private side or on the public side. Most of that private data is not available. I've tried that in the past, and that's just impossible to get. So I would look to all of you to suggest and guide us on that as to what makes sense and how much of that makes sense in terms of being out in the public domain versus behind a firewall for accessible to all the agencies. So I would look to all of you on that.
Thank you.
I have a question and a couple of thoughts as far as partners. I would say if you can, Valley Metro, especially on the transportation side, that's something that we've been very interested in getting at the city of Tempe. And then as far as groups, there's a data coordinators group. It's called AZDC. And I would think that would be a group that has also been talking about regional data sets. And then also there's a group called the Connective. It's a regional collection of folks that's through GPEC, and they're also talking about a regional data share. And then my question is, as far as the open data portal, what would be very helpful is if, as part of this, you build some open data APIs, and so that we can pull that information into our dashboards.
Mark, thank you for that. So yes, Valley Metro, actually that discussion started happening not by email 2 days ago where we were thinking about, not just Valley Metro, but also for Pima County, Suntrans, bringing all of that, because they also have a ton of data that is very, very useful and needed for the transportation side of stuff. Connective, I'm already, connected to them through Amy St. Peter's and everything. And there's been a lot of discussions. What I'm, through that Connective, really, we've got to ensure that we are all working together and not stepping or redoing what our member agencies have already done. That's my biggest piece, that I would love to have conversations with all of you. ACDC, that is a great group. I'll absolutely reach out to them and set something up. On the open data side, absolutely, I would add that. And that's exactly the kind of input we're looking for as to what can we do, because the other side is really, we've leveraged the grant already to build some of the tools that we thought we would do. So now it's a question of how can we take this forward and use this to do something meaningful. So I definitely add that on my list.
Great, thank you, sir.
We have any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for your time, Mr. Pegler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Committee roundtable. As requested at our previous meeting, the next item is a roundtable discussion on current regional and local issues and solutions related to information technology and COVID-19. Anybody have any comments on what we're doing for COVID at this time?
If I may, Chair. I met yesterday with our fire department and police department. One of the things, and I don't know if you are all running into the same challenge, is as we provide the data and updates to the city council, to the mayor, and to our city manager, we're getting questions back of, well, what do you recommend we do? Do we enforce more closures, masks? And we're having a difficult time. We're providing the data, but we have a difficult time with answering that particular question. I was just curious if anybody else has received that question or has data around how to provide that to the city council. What we're thinking of is you've got just the CDC and the medical information. Then you've got the impacts to the economy, to unemployment, to shutting down businesses, and what's the impact around that. And then the third one is just the political arena around people, their feelings about face masks. So I was just curious if anybody else has run into that or has a good cross section of data that they're presenting. And don't everybody like jump up at once.
I think for us here in Surprise, we're pretty much going by the CDC guidelines, and that's what our emergency management team is using. I don't know that we've been asked to provide anything in addition to that at the financial level. I'm sure it's a separate discussion. They may be providing, the amount of permits coming in or revenue, but it hasn't really filtered through IT.
Thank you, Tracy.
I would say ditto here in Mesa.
Yes, and same here in Tolleson. We're following the CDC guidelines, and that's basically all we've heard. So. Does anyone have any other comments or questions on COVID, strategies, lessons? I'm not seeing anything. And this item was for discussion only. Moving on, agency project update. The next item is the agency project update. Committee members can discuss current agency projects that may be of a regional interest to the committee. And again, this is for information and discussion only. Does anyone have any project updates they'd like to share? None heard. Moving on, item number 7, request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by membership for an item on a future agenda? Nothing heard. And moving on, item number 8, the action summary. Craig, I don't believe there were any actions for this meeting.
No, other than no, I'm currently working on the January agenda, and we're hoping to get somebody from Gartner in to give us another smart cities update. We are working on that as we speak.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next meeting of the MAG Tag is scheduled for Thursday, January 21st, 2021 at 10 a.m. And if I could have a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
and a second.
Second.
We have a motion from Travis and a second from Tracy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And our business is now concluded. Thank you, everybody, for your time this morning. Thank you, Craig.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.